Everyone. This is Vijayalakshmi, faculty in DAV RTPP Kadapa, Department of Science. Today, let us discuss about plant tissues. Tissue. Tissue is a group of cells similar in structure and function. When you talk about the unicellular organism, which are made up of single cell, perform all the functions. In multicellular organism, there are numerous cells performing various functions. When you take plant as a multicellular organism, they perform several life processes such as growth, respiration, excretion, etc. You can visualize the unicellular organism like amoeba, paramecium, euglena in this figure. Now let us talk about the different parts of plant with their functions. Now first of all, absorption of water from the soil takes place through roots. Exchange of gases takes place through leaves. Transportation is seen in leaves and reproduction takes place in the flower. Photosynthesis occurs in leaves. The specific arrangement of cells in the plants help to carry out various processes. This specific arrangement of cells are called tissues. Types of tissues in plants. Meristematic tissue. Tissue that bring about overall growth and repair is called meristematic tissue. Plants grow upwards to absorb maximum sunlight so that they can perform photosynthesis. Similarly, they can also grow downwards so that they can grip the plant properly into the soil. Both the growth above the soil and the growth below the soil takes place because of a tissue called meristematic tissue. Characteristics of meristematic tissue. All the meristematic tissue have rapid dividing cells, and all the cells are living cells with a prominent nucleus and abundant cytoplasm. The cell walls of these tissues are thin, and the main function of meristematic tissue is to take part in the growth of the plant. Now, types of meristematic tissue. Apical meristematic tissue, lateral meristematic tissue, intercalary meristematic tissue. Apical meristematic tissue. Tissue at the growing tips like shoot tips and root tips that bring about the growth of the plant in lengthwise is called apical meristem. Now coming to the lateral meristematic tissue, tissue present around the edges in the lateral manner and give rise to growth in the girth of the stem. Girth means circumference of the stem. Now coming to the intercalary meristems, areas from which a branch, leaf or a flower grows is called intercalary meristematic tissue. That means intercalary meristematic tissue give rise to the growth of the stem, branch, leaves, flowers, etc. And intercalary meristematic tissue is also called as cambium. You can visualize the three types of meristematic tissue in this figure. Now coming to the next tissue, dermal tissue. The tissue that forms the outer covering of plant, we call it as dermal tissue. Dermal tissues, characteristics of dermal tissue is the tissues have thick cell wall and most of the thick and wavy like dermal tissue is seen in desert plants to protect the desert plants from the prevent of water loss. Now, the dermal tissue also play a very important role to protect the plant. It protects the plant from loss of water, invasion by parasites, disease-causing organisms. In big trees, the dermal tissue forms several layers above the epidermis. This is called bark. Now, in some plants, dermal tissue secrete a sticky-like substance called gum. And gum is secreted by the dermal tissue, example acacia and neem. And you can visualize the pictures of bark and gum. Now, the next tissue is called ground tissue. The tissue that form a bulk of plant body is called ground tissue. This ground tissue is of three types: parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma. First, we discuss about the parenchyma. The parenchyma is a living tissue with a thin cell wall and intercellular spaces, and the shape of these parenchymatous cells are oval in shape. Now, these parenchymatous cells are again divided into three types: collenchyma, parenchyma, storage tissue. The parenchymatous tissue with abundant chloroplast, which we see in the leaves, we call it as chlorenchyma. And we come across parenchyma in aquatic plants, and this parenchyma consists of air cavities which make the aquatic plants for buoyancy or floating. Now, coming to the storage tissue, the food that is synthesized in the photosynthesis is stored in the various parts of the plant in the parenchymatous cells in the form of starch. Such a tissue we call it as storage tissue. You can visualize the type of parenchymatous tissues like parenchyma and chlorenchyma in this figure. Now coming to the next tissue is called collenchyma. This collenchyma tissue, the cells are thick and the cells are very long with large inner spaces. All these cells are living cells, and this collenchyma cell will give mechanical support to the plant. Now the next tissue is called sclerenchyma. These sclerenchyma cells are thickened cell wall and no inner space. Almost all the cells are long and narrow without any cell organelles. This indicates that all the cells are dead cells. Both collenchyma and sclerenchyma, both of them give mechanical support to the plant. Now, the next tissue is vascular tissue. The tissue that helps in transportation of material is called vascular tissue. This vascular tissue consists of xylem and phloem. First, we'll discuss about xylem. Xylem is responsible for the transportation of materials away from the root. That means xylem conducts water and minerals from root system to shoot system. This xylem is made up of different types of cells like tracheids cells, tubular cells, fibers, xylem parenchyma. And you can visualize both xylem and phloem. The light color part is called phloem, and the dark brownish color or reddish color part is called xylem in this figure. The next tissue is phloem. Phloem is responsible for the transportation of materials away from the photosynthetic parts to the storage parts. And this phloem is responsible for conducting food material which is formed during photosynthesis to the various storage parts. And this phloem consists of sieve cells, sieve tubes, companion cells, fibers, and phloem parenchyma. Both xylem and phloem forms vascular bundle as they conduct water, minerals, nutrients. So they both together are called as conducting tissues or vascular tissue. They also give mechanical support along with conducting food material, nutrients, and water. Thank you.